You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 FM and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in sunny Northport, Florida. I just happen to be sitting up in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, and I'm doing the show out on a picnic bench in the park. I know we have Parks and Rec on our show, but the trees in Florida definitely have leaves on them, and the trees up here are bare. So it's a little colder up here. It's about 45 degrees right now. So I've got my sweatshirt on. You can check out the park. So you can see the trees are leafless, but things are definitely going to get better. Uh, Things are hopefully going to warm up just a tad, and I'm waiting for Debbie McDowell to come back in. There's Debbie. How you doing, Debbie?
I'm fine, John. And the trees are naked. They're not leafless. They're naked.
Well, you know, we're going to keep this clean on today's
Okay.
show.
Trees.
Well, they are leafless,
It's true. They're also naked.
but I'm not sleeveless. How about that?
There you go. Yeah, it's
But
about 80 degrees here in Florida.
oh my gosh, that I kind of missed that. I have decided that jeans are a good thing up here.
Yeah.
I have now worn jeans 3 days in a row, but I I get home and I put my shorts on right away. So it's I can't get rid of the shorts. I'm kind of stubborn that way, but it's a lot of fun. I'm up here with my granddaughters and my sons and my daughter-in-laws. So it's and Carrie's flying in tomorrow, so
Wonderful.
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice family get together. That sounds wonderful, John.
And honestly, everybody out there in listening land, Merry Christmas, because I know I'm not going to be able to get to tell you that come Christmas Day, but Merry Christmas and everybody be safe and Happy New Year. But Debbie, if you want to add anything in there, I'm sure you want to tell everybody to be safe out there too.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the holidays are a great time of year. I'm having a little bit of a trouble getting into the holiday spirit, but it'll come once we get our tree put up tonight or tomorrow, and then it'll be wonderful and magical. I love the holidays.
Well, do you have family coming in?
No, just my husband and our sons.
Okay, and you're good then, right?
It is what it is. I treasure just the time spent together.
Well, and it's very rarely do you get downtime
Right.
where you can just really, I think, let it go. And as a city commissioner, don't you feel that way now?
Oh
Doesn't
yeah.
happen very
I
often.
look forward to the week between Christmas and New Year's.
So how are things going at City Hall with the new city manager and everything else?
Things are going pretty good. We did our strategic planning. He brings a lot of fresh new ideas, and he's only been here what 3 months now.
Yeah.
So it's still kind of getting to know each other and figure out how each other works. And I think for the most part he's doing a very good job. I haven't heard anything negative or anything derogatory about how he's doing or anything like that. So that is always a good thing. So in my book, I think he's doing a good job.
I've had some good feedback though, from over the last 3 months. The interaction that he's had with a lot of staff has been very positive. I think we've been, I don't want to say lacking in leadership, but I think we've been lacking in direction from the management side of things, from a city manager's point of view. Would you agree with that? Even though the interim did a fantastic job in keeping things moving forward, I think you have to have the solid foundation of a city manager in place to kind of move things forward. Your thoughts?
Well, I've always said that, when we had the summer of 2020 with former city manager Lear, that kind of set everything in motion, and it created a lot of havoc. So we got through that, and we had interim city manager Yarborough. And with having that name interim, kind of didn't give him the full reins to do what needed to be done for the city, talking with staff, talking to the county, reaching out. He kind of was handcuffed by having just that interim in front of his title. He did a fantastic job with the tools that he had to work with, and I think he kept the wheels on the bus as best as he possibly could, and that was his job as the interim city manager. Now that we have a city manager who can actually make decisions without feeling like, ooh, I'm not sure if the new city manager would like this decision, like the interim city manager had to deal with. I think things are moving at a more rapid pace, because he is able to make those decisions. He is able to reach out to the people he needs to reach out to and build those relationships. And he is new. So outsiders want to talk to him because he is new. Nothing against Jason. I don't know how much he was able to talk with. When I say outsiders, I mean outside the halls of City Hall, because he had the title of interim and everybody knew we were actively looking for a new city manager.
Right.
So,
well, and don't you feel like that? And I'm not picking on Jason whatsoever, because that is not.
I won't let you.
Well, no, I wouldn't do it anyway, because I really have a lot of respect for somebody who kind of steps in, knowing that you can give some direction, but you also want to leave the direction up to the new person coming in. And I think that's the hardest part for people to understand sometimes. And it's a real tightrope to walk to keep things moving forward, and yet be able to touch the brakes a little bit on occasion, just because you don't know what's going to follow as far as the new leadership. And so you want to leave that scope kind of open so that things don't have to be tore down and then rebuilt back up a different direction. Correct?
Absolutely. And with city manager Fletcher at the helm, I think he's just 3 months is not a very long time to judge somebody, and it's not fair. So I'm looking forward to the 6 to 9 month, 9 month to 1 year mark to see what has happened. And even that, it could be considered too soon also, because it takes it takes a commissioner about 2 years to get acclimated to our role as a commissioner. So a city manager just coming into a brand new city, that he really has to learn from the very, very bottom and going up. He's got his work cut out for him, and I just know he's going to succeed at that with everything that is required of him.
What are some of the things that you think are going to be some hot topics for 22 as we approach a new year? Maybe some hot topics that are going to carry over, but there's definitely going to be some strategic planning that happens in the future because of the growth that we're going through now.
Right.
There's definitely some changes happening within our city that was already going when he got here, but there's still some new stuff that's happening that has to be done. What do you find that it's going to be some of the hot buttons?
We have a lot of things going on right now, and some of them have been kind of put on hold. Some of them have been waiting. I don't have to tell anybody about Price Boulevard. Yes, it's waiting. It's been years and years and years. Right now, the biggest thing with Price Boulevard is the funding. Trying to come up, and I'm picking a number out of my hat because I really don't know what the construction costs are going to be, but I would surmise it's upwards of $50 million, $50 million to widen Price Boulevard. That is a large chunk of change. Construction costs are not going down. They are only going up, and that cost is only going to escalate also. We also have the neighborhood city water and city sewer expansion project, which is a very hot topic for our citizens. We just had a really nice discussion to come up with some incentives to hook them up at a lesser cost. I think we made tremendous strides in that relationship and in that subject area, because we were at 35,000 and we got down to about 11,000, and we came up with ways to finance it. We came up with ways to possibly defer it. So there's going to be a lot of bigger discussions coming forward in probably 3 to 6 months. And then, of course, running the lines to the interstates at Sumter and Toledo Blade. That's another utilities project that we definitely made a huge priority. We got $1.9 million from the state's job growth fund to help fund that part of it. So that should be hitting the ground running in 22. That'll be fantastic. And, believe it or not, we've already got a lot of businesses that have approached our city and said, hey, glad you guys are doing this. I want to come on board. So that's really good news. Another project we have, and this one's kind of quiet, it's not very, very much talked about, is the Hillsborough and Cranberry intersection. That's getting revamped. We're doing it 50-50 with Charlotte County. So that could be why it's kind of on the back burner, because it's not a full city project. But we're redoing that entire intersection because it's so dangerous right now. So close to 41 is very constraining for us. So those are some of the long-term projects that are going to go into 22. And of course, the ULDC. That is the project that just doesn't seem to ever want to end. And the commission voted to actually put it on pause. It's with very much concern. We have some serious staffing issues in that department. Plus, we have a lot of large projects that are time sensitive by the state that have got to get done. We cannot put the state off. Try putting the state of Florida off on anything that doesn't happen. So we have a brand new neighborhood development services director who just came on about 3 weeks ago. So she has to get acclimated, figure out the needs of her department to help planning and zoning get back up to speed. And we got to give her some time to do that. So we just said, hey, let's just put the brakes on, not stop. We're coasting. We kind of put it on pause. And we're going to focus on the tree ordinance and opening up the activity centers for permitted and prohibited uses, because the commission's already had that discussion. Now we just got to get the paperwork together to actually incorporate it into the ULDC, and that can be very easily done now that those conversations have been had. We're just waiting on the paperwork and legal review. So that should probably come in the first 3 months or so of 22.
So tell people what the ULDC is.
Unified Land Development Code. It's the book of rules and codes for building and being here in the city of Northport. It tells you how many chickens you can have. It tells you how tall your buildings could be if you're a commercial development. It tells you how many parking spots you're required to have. It's a whole litany, a wide variety of subject matter, and it's a very large, complex document. And we have been working very hard for the past year. I don't want to take that away from staff. We have really had a lot of conversations to keep the ball rolling. But we realized, wait a minute, we got to put it on hold for a little bit. And then once those staffing levels get back up to snuff and we get some temporary help in here, we will be able to go ahead and get that jump started and no holds bar.
Isn't it? And I'll ask this because I kind of know, but I want to kind of set this up for you to answer. Is that if the ULDC is done the correct way, it gives a really clear roadmap for anybody who wants to build here, and how to handle things. Correct?
Yeah. Well, one of the other things that the ULDC is definitely that it's not really the roadmap. The ULDC to me this is how you have to do it. A roadmap GPS, you can kind of take detours here and there if you know the way to navigate it. To me, the ULDC is these are the rules that are in place and we have to follow them. I think one of the biggest things we are working on as a city is the processes for the permitting and inspections. And again, that's going to come with the help of our new NDS director. We have to get through the permitting. You know, a lot of people sit there and they say, oh my gosh, you have to have a permit for fill in the blank, a water heater. Well,
Right.
it's not the city of Northport requiring that. The state of Florida building code requires that. Electric and water do not mix.
Right.
And you got to make sure everything is done correctly. So, you know, I know that when folks come from someplace else, they don't have, maybe they don't have those codes. Maybe they don't have to have those inspections. But down here we do. And we have to follow the Florida Building Code. That's one of the responsibilities of being a municipality is we have to uphold the Florida Building Code, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's what the state of Florida requires us to do, and we have to hold those inspections. And it's our name and it's our staff's licenses on the line, and we're not jeopardizing that for anybody.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you answered it like that, because there are a lot of times, and I'm sure because you were not a city commissioner all your life, you didn't like go through massive training for this. So putting your new city commissioner shoes on to compare to now, I'm sure there was a lot of times where people actually approached you and said, you know, we've got permitting things going on here and the city needs to change it. And yet it was really not the city of Northport. It was more state oriented, correct?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and sometimes is the county involved in that also?
No,
It's more state.
It's more state, and I don't
Very
know
good.
if the county is, because we're in a municipality. If
Right.
you know, but one of the biggest things we do control is how we handle our permitting processes. From the time you submit a permit, how long it takes to get that permit distributed to you, how the inspections take, and getting those scheduled. So we're looking to do some serious upgrades to our permitting processes to make it a little bit more streamlined for our residents and our businesses, because everybody uses the permitting process. You could be a big, huge development like Welland Park or Cedar Grove. You have to go through the permitting process, or it's just, hey, Debbie needs a permit to put in a hot water heater or a shed.
Right.
So we have to do that for everybody.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that, you know, being in real estate, I deal with a lot of builders in Northport and surrounding areas. And I get a lot of feedback where it's very, very difficult to deal with the city of Northport. And I tend to agree with them. But it's not, I don't think it's 100% the fault of Northport overall. But I liked how you said it, because there are times where you need to tweak the programs that you have. And sometimes you just need to do a massive cleanup and overhaul. And I kind of think we're there because, right. And it's not the fault of the permitting department. I think they're overloaded, and streamlining things would definitely help them a lot. And I think they would agree if they were on the air with us.
Yeah, I can tell you this much: the city of Northport permitting department has issued 15,000 permits in 1 year, from building a brand new home to building a big business to Debbie's hot water heater or John's shed. You know, 15,000 permits in 1 year. My God, look at that's a lot of permits.
Well, and I'm wondering, in comparison, I know we didn't kind of pull data for it, but do you, and I'm asking you this maybe off the top of your head, or maybe somebody threw a number at you, in comparison to surrounding areas, where does that kind of number land? Do you know? I mean, as far as like even with the city of Venice.
Yeah, I don't know where it would land.
I'd be curious to
that's a great
figure
question.
that one out, because you're talking about a department that it seems to me goes from 0 to 90 every single day.
Every single day.
And yet the criticism, and I think, isn't there really only 2 people out in the field?
Oh, I don't know how many inspectors they have out in the field. I don't know that.
Okay. Here's the beauty is that I think we've got a really nice topic to talk about come next year is what's happening in the permitting department,
Yeah.
and what are the changes, and really give an educational on what the permitting department is doing now, and maybe get that information out in a radio show that will really help people understand the differences between what was in 21 and before, and
Right.
what's going to happen. And again, I think having a new vision um, from our new city manager is going to be key.
Absolutely. And I'm sure the new city manager and our new NDS director is going to really put on their thinking caps and come up with some solutions. The commission gave them the tools for those solutions. We told them to find the software. We gave them staff to do this, to implement it. We've given them as much as we think they need to be successful at implementing it. The other thing is when it comes to permitting, unfortunately, since so many contractors are slammed, they're telling their customers,
Yep.
oh, I'm still waiting on the city of Northport. Meanwhile, nothing's been done because they haven't turned it in yet. And I'm not saying that that happens in all cases, but I have seen a few cases where that was true because we said, I'm sorry, we don't have a permit on file. And the customer's like, well, my contractor said that he submitted it, and we want to know why it's being held up by you. And we say, I'm sorry, there is no permit. You might want to ask your contractor for a copy of that permit to see the date that it was issued. So then they pretty much go, okay. So
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Because I've heard that, and yet even when I've gone to the permitting department myself and I've had conversations with them, I always get taken care of.
Yeah.
So I'm there. I'm often I hear both sides of the stories, and I know that I have people who listen to my show who have definitely had issues. I'm not saying they didn't.
Absolutely, I can't dispute that.
Yeah, no, I don't even think the permitting department would dispute that, because I think once they do get the tools that they need to really come into the 21st century, and kind of streamline everything. I mean, we all get new phones every year or every other year, and we all don't think about it. And there's upgrades, there's data changes within the phone systems. Think about the permitting department. I don't know how often government, and I'm not just picking on Northport. I don't care what government you're talking about. I think they're always software behind times, because you can't upgrade everything in a city all in one shot, can you?
Oh, that's a technology question. I am not.
Well, I just think it would cost too much.
Well, one of the costs to be prohibitive, and then you've got 700 plus employees, not to mention, laptops and desktops and phones and this and that. And you have over 100 programs that our IT department works with. And while Debbie may not need all 100 of them, she needs 5, but the permitting department needs, 95. I don't know. Right. So they have to all work together, and they have to be able to talk to each other. That goes without saying.
And I'm sure that it's not a flip of the switch. There's a question from the radio station. What can you tell us about the new high school and K-8 school at Welland Park?
That's a great question that I cannot answer, only because it's a school board, Sarasota County School Board. The city of Northport doesn't do anything with the K-9 schooling, but I do know, I'm checking my calendar, so hang on. We have a convocation of governments meeting on January 21st with the school board and all of the other government cities and the county. And I am confident they are going to be giving us an update at that time. And I'm sorry, I can't even begin to read what is on that screen right now. So I'll have more information for you, John, if you want. We could circle back on that. The other thing you could do is just have your readers follow up with me on my Commissioner Debbie McDowell Facebook page. I always give an update as to different topics that we talk about. So I will definitely be putting that on a future post on my page. only because I know that's a very large topic to the residents in Welland Park. But right now, I don't have those answers. But on the 21st of January, we will probably all be getting them.
And a lot of times with the school board, things change a little bit because the school board does things on their own compared to.
Oh, I think we lost John.
And here I come in.
Hello there, Marie.
Yeah, I can come in and stuff. Yeah, I had the question, Debbie, because I'm doing some stuff that it involves Welland Park. And when I saw that, I go, wow, because, and that wasn't fair for me to have that brought up because I do know it's a school board question. John, are you back?
No, it's fine, Marie, because it was a very important question that if any of the listeners want to live out in that area, they'd be interested in knowing.
They're looking at putting it on 2 adjoining sites, one at River Road and one at future Minnesota Beach Road extension. It's 155,425,000 square foot high school. It'll begin in summer of 2022. And the completion is expected in 2025 to 2026. And then the K through 8 carries an $82 million price tag. Will start in 2023. And because of the expected growth of an additional 14,800 houses units planned for Welland Park, and they're expecting the growth of over 3,372 students. Because of real estate. So, yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up.
I appreciate that. But yeah, there's definitely a need for a school out there, elementary school, high school, absolutely. The school board dictates. As John and I know, the school board dictates when they build a new school.
Absolutely.
How long and how hard everybody fought to get that high school here in the city of Northport. So so the school board is already aware of it. We had a conversation with them last year, but not too much was mentioned. They were looking for changing locations and stuff. So the 21st of January, I'll have a much better idea of what's going on with that schools.
How far does the infrastructure go right now to River Road, and how far down does it go?
I don't understand your question. I'm sorry.
The infrastructure, the water and sewer, how far does the water and sewer run?
Goes all the way out to Welland Park.
Yeah, but how about down River Road?
I don't think it goes down River Road at this time. I believe that's going to be part of whatever agreements have to come forward. I don't have that information, Marie. I'm just kind of guessing here, but I do know that it's large enough that if there has to be tie-ins, it will be able to accommodate it.
Well, let's hope John's back. Hi, John.
Hello.
You're back.
I am. I don't even know what happened. I was perfectly fine sitting there,
and then all of a sudden
it decided to completely kick me off air. So I moved inside to my truck.
It's a little warmer, I'm sure, in there.
It's a little warmer, but my computer definitely was not hot because it's 45 degrees maybe. But it's all good. You hear me much better now?
Yeah, absolutely. You're loud and clear now. Thank you.
Fine.
Was that better than outside?
Yeah.
Wow.
Much better.
Much better.
Well, and I can actually hear you, which is I was struggling to actually hear you. So there's something that was not correct. So I apologize for that. But I'm glad we were talking about the permitting department because I think that when you're new to the city of Northport, that's the first place you tend to go to get things cleaned up at your house. And if people are out on the street and they're telling you how difficult it is, you kind of set your tone before you get to the city. And unfortunately, I think it's going to take us a little time, even though we're going to change some things and streamline some things. The beauty in that, though, is once we get the software and everything ready to go, and people are actually doing what you just said, which is cleaning things up and streamlining things and making things smoother, I think the word on the street will travel quickly to correct itself.
Well, we were in budget, John, and we were talking about helping with online permitting and inspections and stuff. And I remember saying to staff, if we don't put this dollar amount in the budget, what message is that saying? If we put it in the budget,
Yep.
people then know, oh, that goes to a whole new level of importance than to just say, yeah, we're working on it. No, we're putting it in the budget. We're giving you staff. We want this to be a priority, and here's the tools. And I think that word got out loud and clear, and staff, I'm sure, is going to be working very quickly to get that up to snuff and fulfill that direction, because it's not, it's a commission direction. But at the end of the day, it's going to help the permitting department. It's
Yep.
going to help the inspections, and it's going to help the citizens and the users of that department.
Right.
And at the end of the day, that's the goal.
Well, and I think anytime that listen, anytime that I've had to deal with staff, anytime and it's not because I know a lot of them. It's not because I've been around for 22 years, because there are times where I walk into City Hall and I don't know who I'm dealing with. And I'm just being as honest as I can, but I haven't run into anybody who hasn't had pride in their job.
Absolutely.
And I think that anytime that you go in and you have them on board with cleaning their job up and streamlining things and making it better, I think there's probably 100% buy-in, because they want that stress gone.
Absolutely.
And I think anytime that happens, the word on the street it'll take care of itself. I don't tend to worry about the word on the street too much, because you would tend to look backwards too much. And I think what you guys are really gearing up for, as far as Northport as a whole, is you're not looking backwards, you're looking forward.
Yeah. And, the word on the street is, unfortunately, I do have to listen to the word on the street, because that gives me the tools to be able to use and recognize, hey, there's an area of concern here. How are we going to fix it? What do we need to do? Or is this just maybe the person, maybe an attitude, or is this a real problem that is reoccurring? Because if you have one or two, kind of wonder. But if you have 10 or 12,
right,
or 30, then you go, yeah, we got a serious problem here. We need to be able to fix it. So yes, I do have to rely on the street sometimes to help me be able to make decisions as to what I hear and see. I know our staff is doing the very, very best that they can. Absolutely. There's no two ways about that.
Right.
I just hope in 22, they're not going to feel so stressed to be able to do their job efficiently. I want them to be able to do their job efficiently. What is that word? Is
expeditiously.
Exhibition. Thank you. I couldn't even try that if I wanted to.
And don't ask me to do it again.
But also professionally,
Yes.
and all three of them have to come together, and they are doing all three of them now. I don't know how they're managing now, but they're doing a great job, and kudos to all of them.
And how long have you been city commissioner now?
5 years.
So at the 5-year point, when you kind of step back and you reevaluate where it was 5 years ago when you first started, not you, the city, because you were grabbing a hold of information crazy 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. That hasn't changed today.
No.
I mean, seriously, it hasn't. But things have changed at City Hall. Things have gotten better in different areas. And like I was saying earlier, there are times where things are happening that people don't know about. And then, of course, you lose a city manager, and you kind of get. I don't want to say complacent, because that's just a bad word for what the transition is from one city manager to an interim to another city manager. You've got to find the right piece of the puzzle. and it's not always the easy piece, is it?
No, there's so many pieces to hiring a charter officer, whether that be the city manager, the city clerk, or the city attorney, because they have to work very closely with the commission body. And then you have each 5 commissioners that have their ideas on what they want to see happen while they're in office. And and then there's the day-to-day operations on top of all of that. And then there's the state mandates and citizens saying, hey, what about this? And so there's a lot of cogs and wheels trying to work all together to do what's best for the city. And it's got to be that well-oiled machine. And when you have one cog that kind of slows things down or needs a little extra grease or a little extra attention, that's what we got to do. And right now we got a brand new city manager who's only 3 months in. We have a brand new NDS director, only 2 weeks in. We have needs in the Department of NDS. We have needs throughout the utility. There's needs everywhere in the city. And when you think that this one department doesn't have any needs, you go, oh, wait. I'm hearing something from the, the public that you go, whoa, we got to pay attention to this now too.
Do you, I said this earlier, you can't really jump in and change everything in every department right away.
No.
So there's always tiers of what you guys do. And I think that's a challenge. Without a city manager, it's even more difficult, I think, because as much as you're directing staff, doesn't that city manager play a real critical role in that transition from what you guys want to what they can do and how they manage it?
So we don't really give direction to staff. We give the direction to the city manager. And usually when we say, hey, we want staff too, that's the same thing as saying we want the city manager to figure this out, work with staff and come up with the solution. So we have to work with the city manager because we technically cannot direct staff, even myself or as a commission body. So when we're giving the direction to the city manager to come up with the permitting process, come up with a new process, we're giving him those tools. Right. We're telling him to go ahead and do it. And then he comes back and says, this is how I think it would be best to have it accomplished. And then the commission approves that contract or approves it, whatever he needs from us at that point.
And all those things were happening with Jason in place, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
And it's, I've really never had him on the show, and I would love to get him on the show just to talk about what he went through, because just understanding the role that he had to play, I think there's a lot of people out there that really don't understand what he did for the city, filling in.
Yeah, he did great things. And I'm sure, John, if all you got to do is call him or send him an email or something, I will. And I'm sure that he would be flattered that you would like to chat with him.
I'm going to definitely follow up with him because I have a lot of respect for somebody who, one, didn't even apply for the job and was doing the job. Mm-hmm. And yet I haven't run into anyone who has thrown, like you said earlier, I'm not going to let you throw him under the bus. I haven't run anybody who tried to throw him under the bus. I think that everybody has really, I found out that he was working diligently to keep that balance. And I think when you're an interim, you kind of got to give him some kudos, because if you can keep balance until the new guy gets there, you did your job to its fullest.
Well, and then you got to add this part of it too. So when the new guy, in this case, city manager Fletcher, comes on board, Jason goes back to being the assistant city manager, who is on the sidelines again and taking direction from the new guy. And yes, he's helping him, get acclimated. Yes, he's helping him learn what's going on in the city. He's telling him about the commissioners. He's telling him about staff. He's telling him about these residents, or, just giving him the lay of the land. And he's doing that to the best of his ability, and knowing that, hey, if that city manager doesn't like me, maybe I'm going to be looking for a new job.
Didn't think about that.
So there's a very, very small tightrope that an interim plays because, he made decisions to the best of his ability. But when the new guy, city manager Fletcher, came on board, may not have agreed with those decisions. And I'm sure there were many times where city manager Fletcher said, oh, I'm glad you made that one. And thank you for consulting with me on this. And thank you for consulting with me on that. Prior to him actually taking the helm, they were in contact for a month beforehand. Wow. So not only was interim city manager doing that job, he was also very, very much keeping the new city manager informed every step of the way. And kudos to him.
And I it's going to be interesting to talk to both of them in that regard, because while it is, I believe it's probably normal out there, that is not a normal scenario for everyday workers, is to let the new guy come in and work under him.
Yeah. Well, then don't forget, we had an assistant city manager, Miss Carey, who resigned her position a few months into us looking for a new city manager. So Jason not only didn't have an assistant, he got Julie on board. Julie came from Public Works to help in that department. So, I mean, it was, that was a very, very difficult time for that office. And they came through with flying colors, because I didn't feel it. I saw it. I observed it and wondered, oh my gosh, they need some prayers up there. And they got through it. And I am just so impressed with that entire team and how they came through it this past year, on top of everything else that went on in 2020 and COVID and this and
there's a lot to be proud of. There's a lot of chest thumping that we all should, doing this show for a year and talking to organizations outside of City Hall, but just City Hall itself, Parks and Rec, you've got Public Works, and now the city manager and the assistant city manager, and those stories, they never get truly told.
No.
Because we've had Public Works on the show. We've educated people about what happens there. We've gone in depth about recycling, and we've got superstars.
Yes, we do.
When it comes to recycling, we've got superstars when it comes to Jason, who doesn't have the superstar status that he rightly deserves, but I don't know that he actually wants that. Because I don't think I haven't met him, but from the stories I've heard, even the Public Works Department, they're not really built to stand out front and go, look at me. It's all about getting the city and getting kind of the mess in front of them cleaned up so that things move forward, and that people are prideful in the departments. And I think that has a lot to be said for the city as a whole, collectively. If you're new in this town, I think you have to step back and kind of look at each department and maybe not make a quick assessment over past issues. You kind of have to step back and say, well, wait a minute. They handled this and they move forward and they're doing this. Just like in the recycling area, practically, I believe we could challenge anybody in the nation with what we do in recycling.
Absolutely.
And we,
Absolutely.
that to me, I every time I talk about recycling now, I have more information because of talking to Public Works and going in depth and talking to them about what you guys as city commissioners are, and I don't want to say buying into, because you're not buying into it, because the people that are bringing you information, it's really not hard to buy into tax savings.
Exactly.
How often, I mean, I see the smile on your face, but how often do you get that feeling that, oh my gosh, there's some good news here. We can really feel great about what we're doing with some of the things that are happening, and yet it's really not talked about like in open forum.
Yeah, about picking on Frankie, and I'm sure he will appreciate this. About 4 or 5 years ago, he wanted to talk about having a waste transfer station in the city of Northport, and the commission was not having any of it. We were not wanting that discussion at all, because we need, I don't know if we realized it at the time, but we needed to have him step back, prove to us in small steps, small increments, in small phases that it's going to work. So Frankie took the challenge with him and his staff and the leadership of the city manager and the team all together, and they came up with the recycling transfer station. That thing paid for itself already after year one. It is that successful. It paid for itself already. And now it's saving us money because of the tipping fees and all that kind of stuff. So then we said, all right, Frankie, good job. Now let's see if we could do something for landscaping. And he came back and he's got this organics transfer station, which is the same thing as a landscaping transfer station, which basically is the same way that the recycling is run. Instead of having all these trucks going up to the landfill every single day, come to the transfer station, and then we load up a semi of everything that's like compacted, and we send a semi load up there. All right. So it helps on the wear and tear of our vehicles. Our men aren't stuck on 75 for all day, and women, I should say, aren't stuck on 75 in the traffic. They're not waiting in line to dump, because that's time is money. So then we said, all right, Frankie, you proved yourself. Thank you very much. And now we're starting the conversations for a waste transfer station.
And I know for a fact, before I even like get more information, if Frank's name is anywhere near that, we're going to be again something that someone else should follow.
Absolutely.
We are not behind. We are so far ahead.
Yep.
Our sister and brother communities out there, okay, they're looking at us because they don't have a Frank.
Yep.
They don't have a vision.
Frankie better not retire anytime soon.
That's right. Well, no, he's not even allowed to get older each year. There's a lot of value that he brings, and the fact that we've got staff that have bought in to what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And it's not just when you talk to somebody, oh yeah, we're doing that. They know the buy-in. They understand what they're doing. You know, I've watched our trash guys and our recycling department. They go out and they pick things up. I've seen them get out of their truck mm-hmm. and finish picking it up because it fell out.
Right.
You know, there when you drive as much as I do from city to city, and now I'm up in Ohio, and I actually do a lot of looking now out of state at recycling and even trash that's on the street. When you drive through Northport, there is there's something to be said about feeling like the Indian back in the 70s that
Yeah,
was
I remember.
on TV that had the tear coming down his face. Our city doesn't let him cry.
Yeah.
We are to be 70,000 strong and to drive through our town and to see very, very few spots that are heavily littered. That says a lot about city pride,
Absolutely.
about community pride, because there's a lot of participation that keeps a town clean and moving forward.
Absolutely.
We've only got about a minute left.
Oh my gosh.
I want to give you the minute.
Okay. I got a shameless plug if I can.
Do it.
I have a town hall that I am going to be hosting on January 20th from 6 to 7:30 over at the Shannon Staub Library. Just come, bring your friends, bring your questions, open ears, and hopefully you guys will learn something. I hope to learn something from everybody who comes. Ask me questions. It's again January 20th from 6 to 7:30 at the Shannon Staub Library in their meeting room. And then, of course, if you have any questions or if you want to reach out to me, I have a Commissioner Facebook page. Just hit the Facebook and go Commissioner Debbie McDowell, and it'll bring you right to my page. I try to keep it as informative as possible. And it has all my contact information on there, whether from my office phone to city phone to email. So just give me a call if you have any questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
You and your family. I hope you have a great time.
I will. And you have a blessed holiday.
See you next year, John.
All right. See you next year, Debbie.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.